Once upon a time, America was a dream, a land of opportunity, where hard work and determination could transform your life. But something has changed, and not for the better. What happened?
I have a bachelor's of science in mathematics, as well as nearly a master's of science in mathematics. I lost my job that same day.
This is a new reality for many Americans. People who've done everything right, got the education, worked hard, followed the rules, and still, they're struggling just to keep a roof over their heads. Inflation in 2024 has hit 7.2%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. That means your paycheck doesn't go as far. Rent is through the roof. Healthcare costs are soaring. Social safety nets? Thinner than ever. The most heartbreaking part? It's not just the unemployed or uneducated falling through cracks. More and more educated, working Americans are being pushed to the edge and beyond. So, what if the economy takes a serious downturn? What if a major collapse hits tomorrow? Who becomes homeless first? In today's video, we're diving into a harsh but necessary truth. The 6 groups of Americans most at risk of becoming homeless. Elderly homelessness, a growing crisis. When we talk about homelessness, most people don't immediately picture someone in their 60s or 70s. But maybe it's time we start. According to a 2023 report from HUD, the number of Americans over 65 who are experiencing homelessness has more than doubled in just the last decade. That's not a small shift. It's a dramatic warning sign. These aren't people who spent their lives on the sidelines. Many of them were factory workers at places like Ford and GM. Others were teachers, office workers, bus drivers, people who paid their taxes, raised families, and did everything they thought they were supposed to do. They worked hard and trusted that one day they'd be able to rest. Instead, many are now sleeping in cars, tents, or shelters. The financial reality for many seniors is grim. Data from the National Institute on Retirement Security shows that up to 40% of older Americans rely entirely on Social Security to survive. That check? It averages around $1,800 a month. But the average rent in the U.S. is now over $3,000 a month. And that doesn't include food, electricity, or medication. Imagine having to choose between buying your prescriptions or your groceries. Because for many, that's exactly the situation they're in. Social Security was never meant to be a person's only source of retirement income. It's designed to replace just about 40% of what someone earned before retirement. But experts say retirees need closer to 70% to live securely, especially today, with people living longer and medical costs rising faster than ever. And what happens when the economy takes a downturn? Seniors are often the first to feel the hit. They can't pick up a second job. They don't have the time to start a new career, and most aren't in a position to retrain. They've already given decades to the workforce. Yet now, many are setting up tents in Walmart parking lots in places like California and Arizona, not because they didn't try, but because the system failed them. This isn't just sad. It's a warning. If we keep threatening to cut pensions, gut Social Security, or ignore affordable housing, we're heading toward a future where growing old becomes a punishment instead of a reward. The middle class. There was a time when being part of the American middle class meant you'd made it. A cozy home in the suburbs, a reliable car, a couple vacations each year, and the belief that your kids would have it even better. That dream used to feel solid. Now it feels like it's slipping away. In the past 2 decades, over half of Americans who once identified as middle class have lost that financial standing. The reasons? Rising inflation, soaring medical bills, skyrocketing college tuition, and home prices that have doubled in just 10 years. These changes have pushed millions to the edge. Today, the middle class lives with a constant sense of unease. One job loss, one emergency room visit, or one economic downturn can send everything into a tailspin. According to recent data, more than 60% of middle-class families don't have enough savings to cover just 3 months of expenses if they lose their income. Meanwhile, costs keep climbing. Mortgages, insurance, taxes, tuition, and wages haven't caught up. Many people are dipping into their retirement funds early, relying on credit cards, or using buy now, pay later just to get through the month. The financial cushion that once made the middle class feel secure, it's almost gone. And the pain isn't just financial. It's emotional. It's the heartbreak of doing everything right. Getting an education, working hard, paying taxes, and still feeling like it's not enough to simply live. Many are left wondering, where did the American dream go? But there are still steps you can take. While we wait for policies that truly support working families, you can start building your safety net. Even setting aside just $50 a month into an emergency fund can help. Organizations like AARP offer free financial literacy courses that can guide you in managing your money wisely. Temporary workers. Think about the people cleaning Tesla buildings, serving meals at Microsoft cafeterias, flipping burgers at McDonald's, or hauling luggage through busy airports. These aren't glamorous jobs, and they don't require fancy degrees, but they've been a lifeline for millions of Americans for decades. These workers don't make headlines, but they quietly keep the country running. They're the unsung heroes of the American economy. Now imagine what happens if those jobs vanish. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, over 20 million Americans work in low-skilled or temporary jobs. Most of them live paycheck to paycheck, with little or no access to health care or retirement savings. If the economy takes a hit, they're the first to be let go. In 2008, during the Great Recession, more than 70% of the people who lost their jobs were in these very roles. Many of them never got back on their feet. And today, they're facing another threat, one that's even more dangerous. Automation and artificial intelligence are moving in fast. Machines don't need breaks, raises, or sleep. They're already replacing workers in factories, restaurants, and warehouses. As jobs disappear, many of these workers are left with nothing. No savings, no safety net, no one to turn to. For some, it means ending up on the street, homeless, hopeless, and forgotten by a system they spent their lives supporting. But it doesn't have to be this way. We need real solutions. First, the government should invest in short-term vocational training programs. Skills like robot maintenance, basic coding, or other trades that align with the future of work. Give people the tools to adapt, not just survive. Second, it's time to raise the federal minimum wage. $18 an hour should be the baseline. Anything less simply doesn't cut it in today's America. The younger generation, a future in crisis. Have you ever stopped to think about the challenges today's young people face, especially your children and grandchildren? Back in the 60s or 70s, life was different. A part-time job could cover your college tuition, pay the rent, and maybe even leave you with a little extra to save. But for the younger generation today, that world is long gone. They're told that to succeed, they must go to college. So they do, often by signing student loans they barely understand. And when they graduate, instead of finding a stable, well-paying job, they're met with a mountain of debt. As of 2024, student loan debt in the U.S. has reached over $1.77 trillion. The average borrower owes more than $37,000, and many owe much more. Starting careers with that kind of burden, while earning close to minimum wage, is a recipe for financial disaster. So what happens if the economy crashes? This generation is dangerously exposed. No property, no savings, just debt. They're often the first to be laid off in a downturn. And unlike older generations, they don't have a financial cushion to fall back on. Student debt doesn't go away. It grows with interest. Even the most educated, talented, and hardworking young adults are stuck in a game where the deck is stacked against them. The winners? Big banks, loan companies, and universities charging sky-high tuition. Faced with impossible choices, pay off loans or pay the rent, many are pushed to the edge. Some are forced out of their homes, sleeping on couches, in cars, or in shelters. It's a harsh reality they never imagined. Is America still the land of opportunity? If young people have to sacrifice their future just to keep a roof over their heads? Before the system changes, what can be done? If you're a young person in this struggle, explore loan forgiveness programs like public service loan forgiveness. stick to a tight budget, and consider side jobs to stay afloat. Hardworking people. There was a time when cities like Detroit, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and Gary were alive with the hum of machinery and the rhythm of factory life. The sound of whistles marked the start of shifts, and workers, often proud and hardworking, formed the backbone of America's industrial power. But that chapter is closing. Since the year 2000, the U.S. has lost more than 5 million manufacturing jobs. Entire regions have been hollowed out. Places like Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, hundreds of factories shut their doors. Thousands of families lost their livelihoods, their health insurance, and in many cases, their sense of purpose. Take Mr. Frank, 58 years old. He used to work full-time at the Pittsburgh steel mill, proud of every shift he put in. Now, he's working part-time for $12 an hour. That's not enough to pay rent, let alone rebuild a life. If you remember the 70s, you remember the end of a night shift meant a meal with co-workers at the local diner. Laughter, stories, a sense of unity. Today, many of those diners are closed. Main streets are dotted with shuttered shops. Schools have been abandoned, and homes sit quietly for sale, waiting for buyers who may never come. For many, the factory wasn't just a job. It was a community. It gave people a reason to stay, to raise families, to build lives. When the factory doors closed, everything around them began to fall apart. Wages that once hovered around $25 to $30 an hour have been replaced by low-wage jobs with no benefits. Young people move away. Those left behind, especially the elderly, live with a kind of quiet sorrow no one talks about. And now, as whispers of another recession grow louder, these same communities are at risk again. They've already borne the brunt of economic collapse once. There's no promise it won't happen again, but there's still hope. There are free vocational training programs, often offered through local employment centers. These programs teach new skills and open new doors. Communities are coming together, supporting one another, refusing to be forgotten. Veterans. They once wore the uniform with pride, leaving behind families' comfort and safety to step into danger for their country, for us. These are our veterans. They serve with courage and honor, but too many return home to a different kind of battle, one without medals or parades. Some carry visible scars. Others bear wounds no one can see. Post-traumatic stress, depression, chronic pain, and trauma haunt their everyday lives. For many, the war never really ends. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, over 235,000 American veterans are homeless on any given night. Most are older adults, struggling with PTSD, addiction, or simply unable to afford housing in a world where rent, food, and healthcare prices keep climbing. Many veterans are unable to work full-time because of the physical or psychological toll of their service. And while benefits do exist, they often don't keep pace with rising costs. Medical and mental health support programs are under strain, overcrowded, underfunded, and difficult to access. It's a painful irony. The very people who risked everything to protect this nation are often left behind when they need help the most. The system is overwhelmed. But that doesn't mean there's no hope. Organizations like the Department of Veterans Affairs, VA, and countless nonprofits continue to fight for those who once fought for us. They offer housing assistance, mental health care, financial aid, and community support. If you're a veteran in need, or you know someone who is, don't wait in silence. Reach out, contact the VA, get in touch with a local veterans group, or connect with one of the many support networks dedicated to helping veterans rebuild their lives.